Alright, so today we're going to create this positive and negative snowman collage. We're going to do a winter scene in the top half and then create some shadow or negative shapes from the positive shapes up here in the landscape and then flip them down to create the positive and the negative spaces. And there's a variety of ways to do your snowman. So this is one way. Here's pretty much a classic snowman. Or you could do one with a stocking cap. Alright, so the first thing you're going to focus on is your snowman. So you're going to start with a small white piece of paper and you're going to draw the body of your snowman on the white paper, because when you look at the snowman, it's just the white body that we start with. So you don't want to draw your snowman super tiny, because the smaller you draw your snowman, the harder it is to create those little tiny pieces to make him look like a snowman and not just a white snow blob. So you want to draw him pretty big. See how big, well, let me make this a little bit darker so you can see. See how big my snowman fills the white paper. And notice that I work vertical, that I'm not working horizontal, because that would be too small. So I'm working vertical. He doesn't go all the way to the top, but it's just the body shape that you need from the white. When you cut him out, you're going to cut him out all in one piece. So you're going to go around each circle. If you want to make your snowman with just 2 circles instead of 3, that's fine too. Okay, and now you're going to use a little orange scrap for the nose. Tiny bit. And I'm going to flip this over because you can see my pencil lines on this side, so I want to make him nice and clean. So I'm going to do him on this side. A little bit of this tiny dot of glue in the middle. Glue the nose on. Okay, and then you're going to use scrap paper to create the hats and the scarves. And if you want to add mittens to the end of the sticks, you can. So I'm going to go ahead and do a magenta colored scarf. So what I do to do the scarf is I lay the snowman down on the scrap paper and I put a little mark on the outside of the snowman so that you can, let me zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. So I've put a little mark here and here on the magenta paper so I know how wide my snowman is. And so then across, I'm going to draw a rectangle for the part of the scarf that goes across his neck, and then I'm going to add the part of the scarf that hangs down. And then when I cut this out, I'll cut it out all in one piece. So I won't cut it out in 2 separate pieces. Now I can just glue this on his neck, but if I want to make it a little bit more interesting, I could add polka dots or zigzags or wavy lines. In this case, I'm going to add some light blue stripes real fast. I'm going to cut some nice skinny stripes out of some scrap paper. That's probably plenty. And then I'm going to take these stripes and cut them in half because they're going to be way too long anyway. So stack these up, cut them in half, and then add a tiny bit of glue across and do some stripes. And this can get a little messy, you doing this little extra detail, but I think it's worth it. But if you don't want to add little extra stripes, then you can just leave it one solid color. Oops. Alright. And then I'm going to do just a couple across here. Now you can see these are way too long, so obviously I'm going to go back and trim these. This up, flip it over, and trim the blue that's hanging off. Okay, nice striped scarf. It's got lots of glue mess on it right now, but it'll dry clear. Put a line of glue on the snowman's neck and glue the scarf on. And then I got to decide what kind of hat I want. Do I want a black top hat, or do I want a stocking cap, a snowman hat? I think maybe I'll do Santa Claus hat. So I'm gonna lay my snowman down on the red scrap, and I'm going to draw the snowman hat, or the Santa Claus hat, hanging, and making sure that it's wide enough for the head of my snowman, because I don't want to make it too skinny. I'm going to cut this out, but of course this is not finished because it doesn't quite look like Santa Claus just yet. And now I'll go back and use my white scrap to add the bottom of the snowman, or the Santa Claus hat. Just cut a wavy, long, skinny, glue that down. Let's see, I'm going to flip this over so you can't see the pencil lines. Glue that down, and glue this onto his head, just at the tippy top, because I need to leave room for his eyes. And that's kind of, that hat is way too tall, so I'm going to trim that down. That's just crazy tall. Let's see. Is this any better? Slightly better. Alright, so there's that. And then I need the little snowman, or the little white thing hanging off the tip. So the more detail you can come up with your snowman, the more ways that you can make your snowman your own and unique. You'll like that better. Alright, so now I just need to use a Sharpie marker, black permanent marker, to add eyes. Got a little glue mess on here. I hope I don't ruin my marker. Alright, and then a smile. Maybe I can add some buttons here too. I have enough room, space. The scarf doesn't hang down and cover up the buttons, so I can add those. Alright, and now I'm going to use a small black scrap to cut out some arms. And you can cut one arm out at a time, and I would recommend drawing it first. Just some sort of stick arm. You don't need to do anything too involved, and you don't want it too thick or too skinny, so you kind of want to find a happy medium, but skinnier is better. And I would like, if you're not going to add mittens to the end, I would like you to do some sort of stick hand. In the past I've had people just cut out something that looks like, just looks like this, and then they've glued that on, and I don't think that looks very nice. It doesn't look like you put forth much effort. So you're going to glue your little arm on with some black scrap, and then cut out another arm. Draw it first. I'm going to just cut mine out since I've been doing this a long time. And don't make them too big. It just looks sloppy. Alright, here's my other arm of my snowman. That's kind of long. I'm going to trim that off a little bit. Make it a little bit shorter. Okay, so there's my snowman. Nice and neat, lots of detail. Not just boring old standard snowman. I've made the snowman my own. Alright, so now that I'm done with my snowman, I'm going to set that aside. And then you're going to get a black and a white paper that are the same size. On the white paper, I want you to draw 2 winter trees that fill the space. So I'm going to start a little bit wide at the bottom. I'm going to bring those lines kind of closer together, because trees tend to grow wide at the bottom and they get a little bit, the tree trunk sometimes gets a little bit skinnier. And then I'm going to add the branches. I want you to try and make your tree reach near the top of your paper. Now when I draw a winter tree, I kind of draw it with a bunch of U's. The letter U over and over again, and sometimes the letter U is long on one side and short on the other, so it almost looks like the letter J. And then I just kind of do blunt end branches. I don't bring them to a point, because to me this is easier to draw and easier to cut out. If I draw pointy branches with tips on the bottom, tips on the end, pointy tips, then sometimes that's just harder to cut out. So you're drawing 2 trees, true winter trees. Hopefully they reach near the top of your paper. And draw something that's easy for you to cut out. I mean, if you have a bazillion branches or they're all super close together, that's hard to cut out. Now, you want 2 trees. You want 2 white trees and 2 black trees. So you're going to put this black underneath. You're going to stack it together. And this gets real tricky. A lot of kids have a hard time keeping the black paper straight as they're cutting. The black paper wants to move when you're cutting. So be real careful. Keep checking and making sure the edges of your black paper line up with the edges of your white paper as you cut. Now, I never cut perfectly on my pencil lines just because as I'm cutting I think, oh, I want to change this and make this look a little bit neater, or I want to add another branch, or actually sometimes I just cut a branch off because I don't think it's necessary. So you can see my pencil lines when I cut, but that's okay. And I have a black and a white tree, so I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to cut out my second tree. And I'm making sure to cut both the black and the white. Very important. You don't want to forget that step. Alright, so then I have my black and my white tree, my black and my white tree. Okay. So you're going to end up with a lot of scrap. If you have bigger scraps, please give it back to me so maybe I can use it on another project. But the tiny little scraps you can recycle. Okay, so we have our snowman. We have our black and white tree. So now we need a black snowman shape that's the same shape as the snowman. So you're going to get another black piece of paper, hopefully a scrap, and you're going to lay your snowman right on the black paper, and hopefully he reaches. If he doesn't reach, come see me so that I can give you a new snowman. But you can see the arms here reach just to the edge of this paper, so it should be perfect. I'm going to line the bottom of my snowman up with the bottom of my paper so it's nice and straight. And this part is a part that I want you to take your time on. Make this shadow of your snowman look just like your first snowman. So take your time and very carefully trace around with your pencil. If you get any pencil on your snowman here, please erase it, because you have a nice beautiful snowman that you probably don't have any pencil lines on. So when you trace it, make sure you don't get any of those pencil lines on there. Okay, almost done. And I did get a pencil line on my snowman. Oops, I got 2. I got one here, so I want you to erase. I got one right there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now this snowman should look like this snowman, so it's a shadow. And I'm going to carefully cut it out all in one piece. Take your time. You want it to look very similar. I don't expect it to be exact. Nobody's perfect when they cut, not even me. But I want you to try to do your best to make it look very close to the same. It's hard, but if you take your time and you cut slowly, you should do all right. So please, don't rush this step. Okay, so these two should look very similar. All right, so now I want you to take your your snowman and its shadow, and your two winter trees and their shadows, and I want you to set those aside. And now you're going to create this landscape with the nighttime sky, a moon, and some landscape hills. So you're going to start with a large black paper, and you get a smaller dark gray and then an even smaller light gray paper. Okay, you're going to start with your dark gray, and you're going to draw a landscape line that goes across, and it can be more jagged like mountains or wavy like hills, but it has to go from one side all the way over to the other. I had a lot of people that made a mistake. They cut, and then for some reason they swooped down to the bottom of their paper, and then it doesn't reach across the black. So, two mistakes that are made. You don't cut close enough to the top, or you cut and then you swoop down. So don't make those two mistakes. Cut real close to the top of the gray paper. Any kind of landscape line that you want to create, but real close. Look at what little scrap I have left over. And then you're going to do a frame of glue. And you're going to glue this to the bottom of the black paper. Line it up nice and neat. And then you're going to do the same thing on this light gray. You want to cut close to the tippy top of the light gray. You don't want to go across, and then slope down. Go all the way across from one side to the other. All right. And then another frame of glue. And line this up with the bottom of the gray and the black paper. Now you have these scraps, and from these scraps I want you to create a moon. Draw it with your pencil first. It can be a full moon, it can be a crescent moon, it can be a half moon, whatever you like, but from these scraps, cut out a moon shape, glue it on. Okay. Now you're ready to start assembling this top half of your landscape. The top part of it, not the shadow part, but the top part. And you can see I have a full moon on this one. On this example, I have a crescent moon. And on this example, I have a full moon again. Okay. So you're going to take your snowman, not the shadow. Set the shadow aside. Take your snowman, put a line of glue, a frame of glue on the back, a little bit on his hands to make sure they get stuck, and glue him to the middle of your landscape. Take your white trees. Set the shadows aside. Take your white trees. Now, since I cut so sloppy and I've got pencil lines on my trees, this is the side I'm going to put glue on. The side with all the icky pencil lines. A little bit of glue. I'm going to flip it over, line up the bottom of the tree with the bottom of the paper. You're supposed to do the same thing with the snowman. When I glue this tree on, it's okay if it overlaps the moon, but I don't want it hanging off the side here. Hopefully it doesn't overlap your snowman if you don't hang it off the side. If it overlaps your snowman and you need to put your tree hanging off the side, that's okay, and then just trim it. So the same with this tree. I'm going to lay it down, line it up with the bottom of my paper, squish it down. All right, perfect spacing. No, plenty of space for my snowman, plenty of space for my trees without hanging off. So, all right, so now we're ready to finish it off. So you're going to get a large white paper. On this large white paper, don't forget to write your name. So, and the day of your class. Flip it over. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the whole paper. Okay, now you start with this. You lay your landscape down, put a frame of glue on it, glue it to the tippy top of your white paper. Don't have any white paper poking out. Now you're going to take your shadows and you're going to lay them on top of your snowman and your trees and match them up. Okay, so that's wrong. I got to flip it. There we go. Now it's matched up. That's wrong, so I got to flip it. And now that's matched up. So now you just put glue on the top. And you flip this down like a book. Flip like you're turning the page of a book. Flip it down, line the straight edges up, don't leave a gap between them. Put them right up against each other. Glue that down. Flip this down, line those straight edges up. And the last tree. Flip it down. And now you've created your positive and negative snowman winter scene with winter trees. Thank you.